The holidays are all about creating magic, and nobody knows better than us that holiday magic often starts in the kitchen.
Also, nobody knows more than us parents that the pressure to create holiday magic at every turn can be totally overwhelming, which is what makes the newest line by KiwiCo the best one yet.
Just when we thought we couldn't love KiwiCo more, they have gone and launched Yummycrate, a fun and easy way to get hands-on with family-friendly, kid-tested recipes that help build kitchen confidence and teach a thing or two about science along the way.
Each month, Yummycrate delivers to your door high-quality kitchen tools, 3 recipes, and 2 projects that teach kitchen skills and encourage kids to explore the science of cooking.
Everything in the crate is designed to foster a love of science and cooking in kids ages 6 to 14. From experimenting with the effect of pH on dough to designing artistic creations with pancake art. Every Yummycrate takes your meal to the next level with kid-friendly science, stories, history, and fun food facts in the Yummy Zine magazine.
Before each crate arrives on your doorstep, you'll be provided with an easy-to-use shopping list, which includes alternative ingredient suggestions for different diets, from vegetarian to vegan, dairy-free to gluten-free. And with no commitment, you can pause or cancel at any time.
Build kitchen confidence with hands-on experimentation this holiday season with Yummycrate from KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping with the code DIJFY at kiwico.com.
That's 50% off your first month at KIWICO.com. Promo code DIJFY, short for Didn't I Just Feed You?
Hey friends, it's Megan and Stacey with a holiday ask.
This is not about leaving us a rate and review.
Though, by all means, feel free to do that too.
Yes, of course, we'll take those. But this is actually something even more important. We've put together a listener survey to learn more about you and what you want from Didn't I Just Feed You?
As we grow Didn't I Just Feed You, it's important that we do so in a way that meets your needs. And instead of guessing at what those needs are, we'd like to hear about them directly from you.
From all of you.
If you're listening right now, go to didn'tijustfeedyou.com/survey and take 5 minutes to tell us more about yourself.
We promise it won't take more than that. We know that your time is precious.
The survey will be live for 3 weeks. And as a show of thanks for your time, we're going to select 3 new people every one of those weeks to get their choice of a prize. We've got 3 months worth of community membership, a cookbook bundle, and a week's worth of coffee on us to choose from.
The most important people in the Didn't I Just Feed You community are you, our listeners. We truly can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you.
I definitely have a lot of recipes on my site that's vegan pie crust. It's literally just, again, substituting the butter for vegan butter. Honestly, that's all that you have to really substitute for pie crust.
Welcome to Didn't I Just Feed You? A podcast about feeding kids.
Hi, I'm Megan.
And I'm Stacey. Hey guys, before we jump into today's conversation, do you know what we're going to say? We're going to ask you to take a second to join our Didn't I Just Feed You listeners community. It is absolutely free and easy to join. All you need to do is share your email with us and nobody else.
We'll put a link in our show notes to make it easy for you to join, or you can jump to the community page on our site, or use the link in our Instagram bio where we're at Didn't I Just Feed You to join anytime. And if you're comfortable supporting Didn't I Just Feed You and our efforts to publish free weekly episodes, we'd love to welcome you to our community as a supporting member. Supporting members can pledge their support monthly or annually and receive awesome perks, including 2 exclusive episodes every month. They are long, y'all. They're not mini episodes. Live events and lifetime access to our private Instagram feed, along with huge quarterly giveaways. Stacey, I'm really excited about today's conversation because I feel like in 2021, we've had this thread of having vegan and vegetarian perspectives on the show. And we've had 3 or 4 bakers this fall holiday season. And I feel like we haven't really talked about vegan baking, which is kind of a big deal.
It is kind of a big deal. And I feel like we made a really bold move because we did not invite a dedicated vegan baker to be a guest on this episode about vegan baking. And we're going to talk specifically about some holiday stuff as well. But it was by design, y'all. It was by design. We wanted someone who does excellent, top-notch vegan baking, but comes at it from a more flexible perspective. So I don't know, that felt really important to us because, over the course of the year, we kind of had this arc. We've talked about why going vegan with a family is definitely safe and how you can make it as well balanced an option for your family as possible if that's something you want to do. We've talked about veganism in the context of environmentalism and what that means for families who are busy and already stretched and have so much to think about.
We've also talked about vegan cooking in the way that it can just be delicious without it having to be under this vegan umbrella. And I think that's also what the goal here with talking about baking with someone like Shanika, who walks the line of like, she's not exclusively vegan, but she is very talented as a vegan baker. This idea that none of it has to be all or nothing. You can include more plant-based foods in your weekly routine, in your baking, in your holiday celebrations, whether you want to do that for your own health reasons or someone else in your family eats that way and you want to experiment and try to welcome them to the table. Like, we really are trying to tackle veganism, vegetarianism from all angles throughout this last year.
Right. I just think that there's so many people who are passionate about vegan cooking and eating for their own reasons and really put out so much good work. But then it also is one of those things where sometimes the way we rag on food media cracks me up because it's also like what we create and do in our bread and butter. But like the food media also like has to make everything a thing. And veganism has exploded over the last couple of years. And with it has come so many dogmatic ideas about why you should be vegan, how you should be vegan, how consistently you should be incorporating plant-based foods into your diet. And for us, our perspective is like only you can decide all of that for yourselves. We just want to give you as many different perspectives as possible. So when you talked about our episode on how to make vegan cooking delicious, that really was about just like maximizing flavor. But that guest came at it from a pretty hardcore vegan perspective.
Yes.
Right? Lauren Toyota of Hot for Food is
she's all the way vegan.
She's all the way vegan, right? And she feels very passionately about it too.
And like good
she thinks
for her.
It's an important decision. So it was great to have that perspective, but we wanted to talk to her about just like making it delicious as someone who cooks vegan day in, day out. Like, that's what you're passionate about. So with baking is about so much of baking for me as a non-baker, and I'm curious to hear from you because maybe you'll have a different take on it. It's just like about pure joy. Like for me, mostly the end result, not necessarily the process isn't always about full joy because it's not my favorite thing to do always. But even the process, it does feel like something different. It's something that I do with Oliver. It's something that like, even though I don't do it as frequently as you, Megan, when I do it, it's because I'm in the mood. Like it's because that's what I want to be doing versus cooking. I love cooking, savory cooking, but there's just so many instances when I just have to do it, you know, that I can't just say it's just this joyful thing. So what we love about our guest today, Shanika, is that she really approaches this idea of whether she's going to bake something vegan or cook something with bacon from this place of like, what's going to give me personal joy? Like what's going to yield the most delicious outcome and give me that food joy feeling that I want so much from this food that I'm trying to make.
And also with great consideration to budget and time. And again, that end result, like with Shanika's recipes, you're not going to spend all this time in the kitchen and then be like, wow, this really does not fill my bucket up for all the effort I put into it.
Right.
So I think we should introduce Shanika and like not waste any more time. Let her talk to us about vegan baking.
Shanika Graham-White, a food stylist and recipe developer, is part kitchen ninja and part interior decorating connoisseur, hence her passion for beautifully staged food photos. And you can say that again, y'all. You should go
Follow her
on
immediately.
Instagram. Her food photos will make you drool. She's a self-taught cook and baker who created the blog Orchids and Sweet Tea to be a source of comfort and sweets with a healthy twist. She desires to help others turn the little that they have into something magical, fantastically delicious food. On our blog, you will find dairy-free, gluten-free, and vegan versions of old and new favorites. And what I love is that you'll also just find classic versions of your favorites too. Shanika, as you, I hope, know, based on my shares on social media and the fact that I have the book right here and I'm showing it to you, it's always within an arm's reach. I love your book, Orchids and Sweet Tea, Plant-Forward Recipes with Jamaican Flavor and Southern Charm. It is full of such mouthwatering stuff. And one of the things that we love about your work in general is that you kind of effortlessly and unapologetically move between vegan cooking, dairy-free cooking, and omnivore cooking. And so as part of our series on being more plant-based, we thought that that was a really important perspective to bring in. So we're going to dig in specifically to vegan baking because it's the holidays and that's a really big sticking point for a lot of people, especially people who might be new to plant-forward cooking. But I just want to take a minute to step back and talk about this book, why you wrote it, and just kind of orient us in your approach altogether, because I think it's such a refreshing one. It's so not dogmatic. I love that.
Yes, I do. Perfectly said. So, to be honest, I wrote this cookbook because, like you said, I feel like a lot of people are really intimidated by the kitchen. And whether that's baking or cooking, I just feel like, I was once that. I didn't come from a culinary background. I don't have a line of chefs in my family or anything. So I just kind of grew up seeing a few people kind of be in the kitchen and kind of just cook just because you have to make a meal, nothing special. And I thought that it was super hard to probably create something that looked like it came out of a restaurant, or just kind of felt like there's just so much bold flavor. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wrote this book, because I wanted people to understand that it doesn't take a lot to make something that's interesting or something that tastes really great. Or looks really great. So that's kind of one of the main reasons why I wrote this book, just to kind of give people confidence, give people tips, just to show them okay, all you have to do is substitute. All you have to do is be creative. All you have to do is just experiment. So yeah, so that's kind of why I wrote this cookbook.
I love that. Also, we do have to admit that as much as people can make their food look good, not everyone is as talented a photographer as you.
Oh my gosh.
Your stuff looks particularly good, I will say. But I don't know. I feel like as a fan of yours, your baked goods and your vegan baked goods are one of the main attractions. I don't know. Do you feel that way? Is your audience always clamoring for?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Honestly, a lot of people actually think that I'm just fully plant-based or vegan.
Yes.
Which is so bad because it's almost like my other stuff are invisible. And I'm no, but I do share regular too. But no, people really just hone in on the vegan. So yeah, I guess that's a good thing.
You know what I think it is? It's what you were saying about how people can be really intimidated by the kitchen in general. And then you put the vegan label on any type of food and people are a little bit more intimidated. And then when it comes to baking, everything that already exists is so traditional and not vegan or not plant-based. Yeah. So when people see how beautiful your baked goods are, I think that they're just absolutely blown away. But they also come across as very accessible. Oh, I can totally bake that and make it as beautiful as Shanika did. So I'm super curious. I know you said you feel like a lot of your other work gets hidden, but do you love vegan baking and what's the magic there for you?
I do. Vegan baking can be a little hard sometimes, especially when you're for me, I try to do classic favorites and to make a twist to them.
Yes.
So sometimes certain things for me, like I don't like making vegan just because I feel like it deserves to just remain classic.
Yes.
But yeah, I do love baking. And honestly, I think the magic is just because, like, if anyone knows my backstory, if they've been following Orchids and Sweet Tea, then you know why I even started doing dairy-free, gluten-free, and vegan. Like, after having my son, going through postpartum, and then my body not being able to fully digest, like, dairy and gluten as much as it did, it kind of, like, put me in that place of dabbling more into the plant-based. So I think for me, that's the magic, because a lot of things I just want to be able to enjoy too. And so I try to make them more vegan, just so that I can enjoy it fully. So I think it's probably just something personal. The magic is just like, I just want to
Yes.
enjoy it too. So,
But there's
yeah.
more than that. There's your personal story, but there's also this idea that the decisions you're making when you go into the kitchen, when you're developing a recipe, when you're deciding what to
Mhm.
make, come from this sense of enjoyment. What's going to give me joy and comfort, and then also feel good in my body, as opposed to
Yeah.
having this fixed idea that like vegan is healthier, like, and
Yeah.
being like stuck in that really whatever it sounds like your definition of healthy is what feels good and tastes good and gives you that like, that food joy feeling that you love. And I think that
Yeah.
that's something that we hope for everybody, that there's lots of reasons for people to go vegan. If it gets you to eat more plants, that can be healthier for your body, it can be healthier for the planet, but like it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that really stems from even like my family. Like my mom is more receptive to plant-based eating, but not like my general family because I
Yeah.
come from a Jamaican background. So a lot of like it's a lot of meat and a lot of like, the
Yeah.
unhealthier things. And I feel like maybe that's why I adapted that mindset, because I just know like for my dad to eat anything plant-based, like you literally have to trick him and he doesn't even know that it is. So I feel like I just go in doing that because I feel like people want that too. Like you said, they want to feel like I can eat something that is healthy, but I don't necessarily have to feel like it's healthy. Like I don't have to feel like it's like a salad, or I have to feel like I'm not being able to indulge in something really good. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love that you brought family into this, because I look at it like from the other perspective of I am a home baker. I love butter and sugar and eggs combined together.
Yeah.
But I want to be set up in a way where my family who's experimenting with veganism or trying to eat more plant-based or watch their heart health can
Right.
also enjoy those baked goods. So I'm so curious, like, what do you feel like home bakers should have on hand as alternatives to a lot of the traditional, what we call baking staples like butter and milk and eggs?
Okay, so my top list of things that bakers should have. So definitely vegan butter. That's a must. Because like you, I love butter. And coming from down south, butter, sugar,
Yes.
all of that good stuff.
Yes.
So I definitely say vegan butter. For milks, there are so many dairy-free milk options now. I feel like you can really do it based on personal preference. I love to use like almond milk a lot. And I do use oat milk and I do use coconut milk. But there are just like so many other options. So I always just give people that option of like, use your favorite plant-based milk. So having a dairy-free milk on hand, definitely having canned coconut milk as well is a big thing, especially for vegan baking, especially for pies or anything like custard-like. I definitely say like arrowroot starch, because that's like a really healthy gluten-free, sub to like cornstarch.
Okay.
But if you want to use cornstarch, you can. But I definitely use arrowroot starch a lot. For sweeteners, I often use organic brown sugar, or I'll use like organic cane sugar. But some people don't want to use processed sugars. So if you don't, you can use like pure maple syrup or like agave as your sweetener. You can also use dates, or if you have date syrup, that's like really good too. I think for flowers, like I love using organic all-purpose flour all the time. But for if you want to do like something gluten-free, there's like so many gluten-free options. Bob's Red Mill, which is like my favorite to use, they have like a great gluten-free blend. That's a lot easier. But if you want to go into like full-on gluten-free, you can do like oat flour, almond flour, those sort of things. So yeah, I think those are like my top. Like you must have those at
Yes.
least.
Okay, so I have two follow-up questions. One,
Okay.
you mentioned sugar, like that some people don't want to use it. What is the vegan consideration when it comes to processed sugar? Is there something like within the processing that can make sugar not vegan friendly?
I think unorganic sugar, there's like some kind of process that happens that doesn't make it vegan. Or it's probably just been in the presence of like anything else that's been like with animal ingredients or anything.
Okay.
So they say if it has organic on it, like organic brown sugar or organic cane sugar, like that means that it's vegan friendly.
Okay. I love that. That's super helpful. And then my other question was, what about you mentioned starches for like making custard like things and coconut milk, but what about egg replacements? Like, do you like egg replacements or do you rely on like flax eggs, etc., for veganizing some family favorites?
Yeah, so I actually just decided that I wanted to try like, an egg replacement like just egg or Bob's Red Mill also has like a great powder egg replacement. But yeah, like you said, I love using flax eggs or chia eggs. Those are like my two main go-tos. So I guess like having flaxseed mills or having chia seeds is also another thing that's like important to have. But yeah, there are other egg replacements as well, but I love those two for sure.
I love that your vegan baking list feels pretty simple and straightforward with ingredients that you can get at the supermarket. Because I remember years ago, my now 14-year-old was dairy free because he was having major stomach issues.
Right.
So he was dairy free for a couple of years, actually, as we worked on kind of healing his gut. Or he grew out of it. Who knows? Who really knows how these things work, to be honest?
Right.
But, this was before the proliferation of vegan everything and being able to find vegan versions
Yeah.
of like nearly every food ever made. And these were the ingredients that I was experimenting with now. And I kind of feel like sometimes you go to vegan, especially baking recipes and sites as opposed to regular cooking. And it's like, you're like, oh gosh, well, that's like $250 worth of ingredients that I don't have that might be harder to find. And that if I'm just dabbling, am I going to even use all
Yeah.
this up before it goes
Right.
bad? But
Yeah.
like chia and flax, easy to find, put them in smoothies, put them in any kind of baking, like coconut milk, great. I'm going to use that for a million things. So
Right.
I really appreciate that.
I'm glad because I definitely try to keep things simple because I do know, like, I know, I have a lot of like other fellow bloggers that are really deep into like, they specialize in vegan
Yeah.
baking. And sometimes it can be a little intimidating with like some of the ingredients, or sometimes you're just
Yeah.
like, I've never tried that and I don't know if it'll work. So I try to keep things really simple because, again, I know that my audience, not all of them are vegan. Some people just like eating healthier or like incorporating plant-based. So I definitely try to be as like simple.
I appreciate that. I do feel like that's a huge plus and a huge part of the appeal of your work is that it feels like I can dabble in plant-based with
Yeah.
your recipes.
Before we hear more from Shanika, let's take a quick break to hear from some of this week's sponsors.
Megan, they say that this is the happiest time of year, but for me, it's more like the busiest time of year.
Oh, same. Sometimes there's so much to do that it's hard to slow down and take in the joy of the season, which is why I lean on tools from meal planning services to organizational apps to help me make this time of year as easy as possible.
Same. As you know, shopping and gift giving are one of my pleasures. So this year, I'm using an app called Elfster to help keep me organized and my shopping easy. Elfster is the #1 Secret Santa app in the world. It helps you create a free gift exchange so that you can organize gift giving with your family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers without stress.
I'm using Elster too this year, and it's awesome. You just set the date and budget, and it literally takes care of the rest, even drawing names for you. As someone who's just moved cities this year, I especially love that Elster can help organize virtual gift exchanges too.
It's true. Just add gifts from brands you love, including Amazon, Etsy, Fanatics, Nordstrom, Sephora, and Zappos to your wish list. Share, and you're all set. Everyone gets what they want.
Trusted by more than 17 million people, Elfster is like your personal Santa's little helper. Just go to elfster.com or download the Elfster app to get started today.
Happy holiday shopping. Megan, you know that my two obsessions are food and beauty, so I am thrilled to be sharing our latest sponsor, Matter of Fact, a fantastic new skincare brand.
We talk about how I lean into minimalism, but I get excited about new products too. I just need to keep my routines simple, which I can do with Matter of Fact. So thanks to that, I'm hooked too. It's the perfect skincare line for both you and me.
Yes. Matter of Fact has launched with 2 patent pending products that have quickly become a key part of both of our daily routines. They're Ascorbic Acid 20 Brightening C Serum and Minimalist Hydrating Cream.
We both use the vitamin C serum once a day and the hydrating cream morning and night. Most days, that's all I use, but I know that you layer makeup on top too.
I do, and that feels great. Both products keep my skin looking bright and smooth. They're also light enough that my face doesn't feel heavy with products, even when I'm wearing a full face of makeup.
I also love that Matter of Fact vitamin C serum is the only one on the market that lasts for up to 16 months at nearly full potency. That saves big for someone like me who isn't consistent with her routine.
And all of this is great, but honestly, the absolute best part of Matter of Fact is that they are research-backed while maintaining a commitment to honest, approachable information, which is kind of a rarity in the skincare industry.
Proven results plus transparency is our favorite combination, and we're thrilled to have found a skincare line that gives us both.
This holiday season, try both Matter of Fact products as part of their Better Together mini pack. You can test drive the whole Matter of Fact regimen to see improvements in the overall look and feel of skin for yourself.
And the Better Together pack also makes a fantastic gift.
Yes.
Get it for $54 between now and January 1st. Go to matteroffact.com and enter the code DIJFY at checkout for 15% off. That's matteroffact.com, code DIJFY, short for Didn't I Just Feed You?
Okay, well, the holidays are coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baking
Fast
is
approaching.
Fast approaching. So talk to us about some of your favorite holiday baked goods and which you do vegan versus which you try to just like keep traditional because you don't mess with a good
said at the
thing.
beginning, you're like, there's some things I'm not.
I'm not going to
I'm not
mess
messing with
that.
We would still like to know about those also.
Right. So I definitely love making cinnamon rolls. That's like one of my top faves. I love doing them both regular and vegan. So those I don't mind making vegan because I feel like it's kind of easy to substitute and you don't really taste the difference. At least the way that I try to make it. Like I try to make it where you don't taste the difference.
Yes, we like that.
So that I think is like dual. I think for me, cheesecake is something that I love making during the holidays. And I definitely do not like making them vegan. I want to indulge in all of the cream
I got really
cheese and all
excited.
the
I was
dairy.
like, oh my God, we're going to hear about vegan cheesecake.
Well, you know what's so crazy is that I'm not vegan. And I agree that like, I just want it to taste the way I want it to taste. Like,
yes.
if you give it to me vegan and it tastes the way I want it to taste, like awesome. I don't care what, for whatever reason, I'm really bizarrely intrigued by vegan cheesecakey desserts. Like if you went into my, I feel like I'm revealing something about myself. Like if you went into my Instagram, like saved posts, like food inspiration, there's a lot of like vegan cream cheesy cheesecake stuff. Like why?
Okay.
I don't know. There's something about the idea that it looks so good and it looks in the photography like it has just the right texture and you're like, it's magic. How did you do that with cashews? But you're not into it. It just doesn't have
No.
the same, like, what is it, mouthfeel, taste? What?
Yeah, I feel like the texture is not the
Yeah.
same and just the taste. I love cashews. Like that's my main go-to, especially making things vegan like queso and stuff.
Yeah.
That's like I love it. I love it. But I don't know with cheesecake, I don't know, maybe it's because that's how I started. Like cheesecake was just regular cheesecake. So
Yeah.
I just feel comparing it, not so much.
That's so funny that you mentioned queso too, because we tried a vegan queso that was
Mhm.
really, really good. And I was like, this is totally delicious. People should try it because it's going to open their eyes to how good you can make it. And
Right.
I'll probably never make this again. Like if it's queso, I want cheese.
But it was the long
Right.
ingredient list too that was part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It was pretty easy though in the end of the day.
yeah. But to your point about like, to buy the things to make traditional queso, you're going to spend $8 maybe, but then to buy all the ingredients to make the vegan queso, you're going to spend way more than that. And I feel like cheesecake would be the same thing where it's like, you would have to spend a lot of money on cashews to make a really
Yeah.
tall, super satisfying
Well, yeah,
cheesecake.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I love thick slices. So yeah, you
Yes,
definitely.
Yes. Yes.
Slices. I want thick slices on a t-shirt. Wouldn't it be good? I
That
want
would be good.
thick
That would be good.
slices because that is 100% how I feel about it. Okay, so holiday baking, cinnamon rolls, check. Cheesecake. What else? Are there any like holiday cookies or any like traditional sweets that were made in your family every year?
Okay, so that's kind of hard. Okay, so in my southern like side of things, definitely like all the pies. I want to say like cakes,
Yeah.
kind of, but not really. And yeah, I guess that'd be like the main things for me.
Do you like making vegan pie crust? Talk to us about that because pies are really big in the holidays.
Yes, so it's super easy. I definitely have a lot of like recipes on my site that's like vegan pie crust. It's literally just again substituting the butter for vegan butter and just I like to use milk. Some people use water, so it's really up to you on that. And then using apple cider vinegar.
Ooh.
Which is like, yeah, so that's like, it gives it great acidity and it also helps with the binding. So that's all that you have to really substitute for pie crust. Everything else is the same. So it's the same flour, same salt, same sugar. And it's still the same simple, easy. I feel like the dough, it works the same. So for me, I feel like there's no intimidation there with pie crust. In terms of anything else, like in the Jamaican household, it's totally different because for them, like for Christmas and stuff, they actually make like black cake, which is actually made out of rum.
Yeah.
And they also make like other like fruit cakes and like, banana breads. So it's really simple. It's not as extravagant as like the Americanized version of holiday baking.
Yes, totally.
But for me, honestly, cookies is the one thing I think is another thing that I wouldn't really like to make vegan that much. And that's also another holiday thing that I feel like I would have go. To be honest,
Yes.
I'm not a cookie person. And then all the cookies they have and some of the ones that are like dry looking, I'm like,
Every baker we've had on for the last 3 years, like pre-holiday, they're like, don't make sugar cookies. It's not worth your time.
Yeah.
It's not worth your effort. They are dry and dusty and no one wants to eat them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So true.
I really love the idea that like banana bread is a delicious enough to serve for a holiday too. Like I think we've made it this thing where it's very like ubiquitous and very homey, but it's actually quite complex in flavor and can be really stunning as both like a gift and a holiday celebration too. Yes.
And do you make your quick breads vegan?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So a lot of them actually are. I think majority. I don't know if I have anyone that's regular.
A lot of them have like oil, right? Instead, do you use like regular canola oil or are you starting to play with like the coconut oils?
So I do use coconut oil and I do use vegetable oil. And then sometimes I just say I'll just melt like the vegan butter and substitute it that way. Yeah.
Okay. So something that I'm hearing as a theme, just in terms of vegan baking and people who want to experiment with it, is it sounds to me, and I am reading between the lines, so absolutely feel free to correct me, that you're saying like, you want to think about the category of baking, But
Mhm.
if it's something like a pie crust, if it's something like a simple quick bread that already is calling for oil, that you really can just take your favorite recipe and experiment with it. And then, in some cases, you might find, like with the pie crust, you mentioned the cider. A
Mhm.
traditional pie crust recipe may not call for cider vinegar.
Right.
So that was an addition that you'd find in your vegan recipe. But for the most part, it's okay to just kind of dive in and begin your exploration by substituting vegan ingredients in your favorite simple baking recipes.
Yes.
You feel like
That's
that's fair?
that's my approach. Yes, very fair.
Okay. And then if it's not working, you might want to like cross reference with like your favorite vegan baker or someone like
Right.
you who's really making distinctions based on what veganizes, for lack of a better word, well, and what doesn't, as opposed to
Yeah.
going to a site where it's all vegan. And so no
Right.
matter what, they're going to make it a vegan version.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, okay. Megan, did you want to jump
Yeah,
in?
I have a
Okay.
question. So we're still like in the thick of holiday shopping. We
Mhm.
just will have had our cookbook episode about like some new released cookbooks. I want to tease people to go buy your cookbook as
Yes.
both for themselves as a resource and as a gift. So can you tell us like 3 of your favorite recipes from the book? I know it's
Oh
like
gosh.
choosing favorite children. Sometimes we
Yes.
make cookbook authors play the game of like kiss, marry, kill with their recipes. We won't do that today, but we just love to know like 3 standout recipes.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, that is very hard. But
You can do hard things, Shanika. We can do hard things. Do it.
Yes. I think one for sure is my sweet potato rigatoni pasta
Yes.
recipe. Definitely, I love everything sweet potatoes and I love pasta. So I felt like, why not just put the two together? But for anybody that loves pasta, that one's like super creamy and it is really easy to make the sauce. Like it's not something super intimidating. So that's one. I think for sure one of my mocktails, I would have to say, I don't know if I can choose, but
I think it's fair to say that whole section is worth buying the cookbook for.
I was
well,
going to
yeah.
say.
Because
totally.
we even like as people who are so deep in food media, like we
Mhm.
struggled when people were like, what are great mocktails to serve? And
Right.
there's so much variety in that
Yeah.
section. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say mocktails. And then if I had to choose a third, I would say one of my pizza recipes. That's one of my
Mhm.
other favorites that I love making
Ooh.
on the blog. Yeah, I think I had like a jerk chicken pizza in the cookbook, which is like really, really good. Or I have a barbecue veggie pizza for those who don't want to eat meat. But yeah, my pizza recipes, I definitely love making pizza, homemade pizza, because I'm such a pizza fan. Like being in New York, how could you not? Yeah, so I feel like one of my pizza recipes for sure.
To go on a little side journey, do you have vegan cheeses and vegan butter brands that you like?
So for my vegan butter brand, I definitely love Earth Balance and I love Mayoko. I think if I'm saying it right.
Yep.
Yeah, I love those two as my top. And for cheeses, so that's a love-hate for me.
Yes. I
Honestly.
get that.
That's
The
fair.
vegan cheeses, I don't know. I feel like the textures or like the way it melts is not the same as like regular. But if I was to choose, I definitely would say I love Daya's cheese
Okay.
shreds. And then So Delicious actually came out with like a whole line, which is pretty cool because I love their like milks, their dairy-free milks
Yeah,
and their
and-
ice creams and like their whole line practically.
And they're like in so many grocery stores, so they're super easy
Yeah.
to find, which is a consideration for some people, like who might be in small towns and not have super stocked grocery stores. Like being able to find it is huge.
If you don't like cheese shreds like I do, definitely nutritional yeast have on hand.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree
Yeah.
with that because
I
I'm
love
not
that
into,
consideration.
I'm not into vegan cheese.
It's just like it's not the flavor for me. I think a lot of brands hit the flavor really well.
Yeah,
It's the texture. And especially with
Yeah.
things like pizza. For a little while I had an office above a pizza shop and they had a vegan slice every day. And so I would try it regularly.
Mhm.
And when it is cold, It's
Yeah.
like, you know how cold pizza can be good? It was
Yeah.
not with the vegan cheese. It had a
No.
very weird texture. Thank you. I needed my own side cheese journey.
Right.
A cheese journey. I love that too.
Yes.
I want to bring up a recipe because I feel I've been drawn to it and it's like bookmarked for the holidays for me.
Oh
The
my gosh.
vegan Jamaican peanut punch.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So when is peanut punch? Is this like an all year round drink for Jamaicans? Like tell me about it because to me it just looks like something that I want to sip on during the holidays.
Right. Yes. So it is all year round. Not any special occasion. In the Jamaican culture, it's like something that they use to like strengthen. So it's like a very nutritious drink.
Yes.
Although I think it has a little bit of rum in it, if I'm not mistaken. The original. Yeah.
Strengthen again.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely year round. I actually grew up seeing like my parents drink it, obviously because I was too young. It's really complex with flavors because they have like a lot of different things in it. And I definitely, for the cookbook, like simplified it greatly. And I even like did a spin and used like peanut butter because I think they actually use peanuts. So I definitely made it simple so that it's easy for you to whip together. But if you want to try it in the cookbook, I definitely recommend. If you're like a peanut butter peanut fan, you will love this for sure. And then you can also spruce it up and add your rum if you want.
I mean, I already have
He's
that
going
plan.
to. Yes.
But thank you for the permission. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to jump in with is I want to know your son. What is his, either tell us his favorite thing from the cookbook or something that he's really looking forward to eating during the holidays this year that mom makes.
Oh boy. From the cookbook, if you have it, you'll see his little hands in like the breakfast cookies.
Yeah.
That's like his ultimate favorite.
Yeah.
He's such a cookie fan, but very much so, more so chocolate chip. So I think for the holidays, he just would want me to make chocolate chip cookies. That's like his ultimate favorite for sure.
We talk about that. Megan referenced the other bakers. Everyone's always like, why mess with a good thing? Chocolate chip cookies.
Like, forget the sugar cookies, just make chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah. And then
that's what everyone really wants. Yes.
Add like pretzels or not, or like butterscotch or whatever. Like you can always just, I think chocolate chip cookies are just so classic and you could just never get tired, honestly.
Really?
Couldn't agree more. Well, that seems like the perfect place to end. Like every holiday baking recipe we've ever had has basically ended with skip the sugar cookies, keep it easy, make chocolate chip cookies.
Literally,
that's the message. We're going to keep preaching it until the end.
Shanika, thanks so much for joining us today. It's always such a pleasure to chat with you.
Always. You guys are so fun. Oh my gosh.
Stacey, I love chatting with Shanika. I feel like she gives a lot of permission to bake how you want to bake from day to day, and also a lot of like empowerment towards keeping a couple things on hand that you can make a vegan treat with really quickly on the fly if you have guests for the holidays or you want to include someone in your family who has dietary restrictions. The one thing that we didn't get clear on, and I just want to follow up with, is the idea of sugars being vegan or not vegan. Shanika mentioned organic as a good signifier of sugar being vegan, and I don't think that that is inherently true. The issue with sugar, and especially granulated white sugar, and what can make it not vegan is that it can be processed, aka it can be whitened with a product that is bone char. So like vegans are not using bone char. So it's not necessarily about looking for organic sugar, but it is looking for vegan sugar. Sometimes it is both vegan and organic. And a lot of times, if you're looking at granulated sugar, it's not quite as white as like a mass market sugar. It might have a little bit of like an off-white or gray color to it, which won't impact your baked goods in the end. And it's maybe a little bit more expensive, but worth keeping on hand.
I had no idea about that. That's so interesting. And it's true. I can think of certain brands that I've just picked up. Like if I haven't shopped at Whole Foods in a million years, but like that I've picked up at Whole Foods because I've just needed sugar, and you grab that bag of sugar and it has that grayer color than a lot of the main brands that you're used to picking up at the regular supermarket. And I didn't realize that was why.
Yeah. And also, wine can be processed with bone char similarly. And so it makes it not vegan, which might just be like a hot tip for the holidays. You need to buy exclusively vegan wine.
Is that I probably won't ever think of this again. And I'm just going to go back to buying whatever sugar is there when I need sugar. But sometimes when you really stop and think about it and hear stories like this, you're like, oh, I want only vegan sugar. Like, I'm not like, I don't want bone char processed sugar. Like, that's weird. Why? So interesting. But I guess that's just a larger conversation about our food system and how it works, right?
Yeah. I think there's probably like a
lot
lot
of stuff
that.
like that. I don't want to know.
It's okay to want to know.
about.
And maybe that just changes. That is what changes.
I said
our
I don't want to know, though.
Yeah.
But yes,
Oh,
it is okay to know. I should
right?
know.
Because people you start becoming aware of those things, and then that impacts what you buy, and what we buy impacts what's produced and how it's produced. And so it's not
you know what it
bad
is too, that also I feel like as a recipe developer, it's really important to also buy ingredients that most people have access to and are buying. And like those sugars from Whole Foods tend to be not as fine a grain.
Like if you're trying to make a buttercream with them, it takes a little bit more time to incorporate them. 100%.
And that ends up affecting your recipe writing and it being as reliable as possible for the most number of people as possible. So what a great platform. I'm so glad you brought it up, because like making people aware so they can make their own decisions is one of the best things we can do.
And not that, like, Shanika did not mention honey is one of her favorite sweeteners, but I will flag it. There are some vegans who choose to eat honey. That's like a personal choice because it is technically like an animal byproduct or insect byproduct. And some don't. And so just that's something to be aware of if you're feeding vegans for the holiday.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. I'm really excited to try Shanika's vegan red velvet cake for the holidays.
I'm so excited. I mean, red velvet, you mentioned to me that it's a Southern holiday staple, which I didn't know. I guess how would I? But it makes perfect sense. It's that beautiful red color.
Red and white. And you see it a lot of times like adorned with little Christmas tree, like white chocolate Christmas trees
I
to
feel
make it more festive.
Red is a great holiday color. Christmas, Kwanzaa. I mean, Diwali already passed. I guess Hanukkah, it's not so much. You'd have to do a blue velvet cake for Hanukkah. But it is such a like festive color and such a delicious crowd pleaser.
Yeah, I was also so excited to hear about more Jamaican food traditions from Shanika. Like I've never heard of or made black cake, and now I really want to explore that. And also the freedom to like make banana bread as a holiday dessert. You know me, I love let's get a quick bread and make it fancy.
Black cake is not my favorite. I'm just going to say it's not my favorite. I feel like I wonder if it's something. No, it's just not my personal favorite. I was going to say, I wonder if it's something that you grow up with. It's a pretty strong flavor.
Is it like fruitcake in that
way?
It
is.
Like some people like
fruitcake
it,
variation.
Yes.
And yes, like I don't like any versions of fruitcake.
Okay.
Even those even sometimes, how the panettone, which is so fluffy and delicious, has like sometimes chunks of candied fruit in there. I'm like, what are you doing in here? Get out.
You just want fluffy
cake.
Out,
fruit. I just want cake. Do you like fruitcake?
I'm like, can't even remember the last time I made or ate fruitcake. So I feel like in theory, no, because I don't really love raisins. Yeah, remember, it comes back to that whole grape thing. And also how I say I don't love like baked fruit desserts. And I feel like it's the texture of like the reconstituted dried fruit. But if you soak it in enough liquor, I'll probably eat it.
Okay, real quick. Have you done a bunch of vegan bacon before?
You know what I have veganized, and I don't know if it ever saw the light of day,
Ooh.
are biscuits. Both for
Really?
Alton and for kitchen.
Oh my gosh. How do you feel about them?
I feel pretty good about them. You know, some people make their like classic biscuit, their go-to biscuit is with shortening.
Yeah.
And vegetable shortening is vegan and actually makes an incredibly fluffy biscuit. And so then all you have to do is use your favorite non-dairy milk and add a little bit of apple cider vinegar to it to make like a faux buttermilk, but also you get a little bit better browning with the apple cider vinegar versus lemon juice.
Yes.
And then you can follow any biscuit recipe at its heart to make vegan biscuits.
Wow. I feel like you're going to have to share that with us.
Okay. You got it.
One of my favorite holiday cookies is vegan. It's one of those accidental vegan things. It's a coconut almond raspberry thumbprint cookie. It's not my recipe.
Have you shared that before?
Yeah. It's our go-to. Like it's one of the cookies that I make every year. It's so delicious. It has such a great texture. It feels festive, but you can make it all year round. Other than that, a lot of our favorite vegan treats aren't so much baking. Like I have a vegan quote unquote, big heavy duty quotes, salted caramel dip. Because obviously it's not caramel at all.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that people call like, it's a vegan salted caramel dip. And you're like, that's not caramel. But it is a date dip that tastes like salted. It has the flavor notes of salted caramel, and it's so delicious and good and easy. And I used to I haven't made it in a while, but now I want to go back to it. Some vegan puddings made with silken tofu. If you use chocolate or chocolate and peanut butter, those chocolate flavors, the chocolate peanut butter flavor are really strong enough to kind of make it so that the tofu is really about the texture, which comes out beautiful as opposed to the flavor. And it works really beautifully.
Yes. Actually, when we were talking about cheesecake with Shanika, I was like thinking about how silken tofu can have that cheesecake-like texture in some places or custard-like texture. And Alton has it's called Moulis chocolate pie. And it's literally like a blender filling that cold sets. And then you can do whipped coconut milk on top of it.
Yeah.
So good. And that, thinking about the chocolate crust of a pie like that, made me think of recently I SOS texted you being like, it's Emmett's birthday and he has an egg allergy in his class. What treat can I grab at the grocery store? And you were like, Oreos are vegan and they're really easy as a treat. And his class, I found Pokemon themed ones and his class loved it. So I just love this idea that more and more
like an Oreo crust with that vegan, with that tofu chocolate filling and coconut whipped cream on top. That sounds hella good. And that's an all year round. It feels like an icebox pie for
summertime, holiday.
Crush candy canes and put it on top. Boom. Winter holidays. Boom.
So the whole premise here is vegan holiday baking does not have to be intimidating. It can actually be super easy. Some Oreos in a blender and some candy canes.
Okay. We've given you tons of ideas. We're curious. Have you dabbled with vegan baking? If you're someone who is vegan or eats plant-based a lot of the time, are you going to be doing any vegan holiday baking? Tell us. And by all means, share your favorite recipes. I think that, even for us as recipe developers, finding trusted sources when you're talking about a particular diet, finding trusted sources for recipes is so important. So let's mind hive these. You can do that by joining our community. And we talked all about that at the top. Or you know what? Just find us on Instagram at Didn't I Just Feed You and leave us a comment anywhere or DM us. Doesn't have to be a vegan post.
Email us.
Just be like,
however
you
want to find us. Send us a carrier pigeon. We want to hear from you. And if you love hearing from us too, sign up for our newsletter. We promise to only email you twice a week, once to tell you when there's a new episode and another time to share our favorite tip or product pick of the week. Find the link to sign up on our site or in our Instagram bio.
And last but never least, don't forget to subscribe to Didn't I Just Feed You wherever you get your podcasts. And, if you have a minute, leave a rating and review. Little holiday gift.
To us.
To us.
From you.
Do it now.
A huge thank you to our editor, Samantha Getzik. I'm Megan.
And I'm Stacy. Stay sane and well-fed until next week.
Be sure to subscribe to Didn't I Just Feed You wherever you're listening. And don't forget to rate and review.